So we are going to be continuing to look at a scenario where civilization starts over. In the last episode of this series, we saw a few events happen, like we saw a war happen over in the Holy Chinese Empire. We saw Norway gain independence, and a new country over inside of India. If you guys are enjoying this series, please make sure to like and subscribe. Lack of uploads recently, but sorry. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into the tribal war, where we saw a bunch of rebellions pop up inside of Rome in the last episode. We saw the two Mediterranean islands, Corsica and Sardinia, rebel away, and we also saw a bunch of southern Italian cities rebel away. Then it fully escalated into a war with the Circle Alliance, if I can click on the layer, with Carthage invading into Sicily, and the Union of Northern Italian tribes invading into the northern part of Rome. And well, to be honest, Rome is going to have a very difficult time repelling against the tribal states of Rome, tribal states of Italy, and that is because they were not expecting this at all. So very quickly, they're pushed back to their capital city, where they're able to hold out for a little bit, but we do see them entering into southern Italy. And we also do see the rebellion starting to expand and connect up with each other. A very deadly siege will be put on this major city here, as we see minimal fighting from the Romans because they're just out. No one really wants to fight. No one was expecting this. There wasn't a lot of troops put anywhere. And really, even over inside of Sicily, it's not going well, as we see the Carthaginians taking over a lot of the coastal areas of the island. The Romans actually do end up holding a counteroffensive against the Italian states, and it goes actually pretty well. They're aiming to cut off this area from up here, but then we just see a counteroffensive down in the south, which drags attention away from this part up here, which eventually also gets pushed back. Over here, we see some minor gains by Rome. They're kind of just freeing up some space over in their capital region. We also see them invade into this southern little exclave, and they actually get pretty far into it. But then troops stationed here are actually going to just go ahead and push right back into this area. And now they're just pushing straight back into some more Roman territory, getting connected up with these areas here. This major city is actually doing a lot of work, draining a lot of resources from the Southern Rebellion. Some countries, they're not super happy about what the Circle Alliance is doing. Mainly the Triangle Defensive Pact and the Square Alliance. But they're not going to do anything yet. Instead, let's head over to China. Here in China, we see the latest addition, or kind of the latest addition to the Holy Chinese Empire, this southern green Chinese country. They're going to start expanding out west. Now, why are they expanding out west? Well, I don't know. They're probably a little overpopulated, so they're going to go get some more land. They start to enter into this little peninsula, and as they explore down into these areas, we see them come across a little tiny little country. These guys, they're pure, they're innocent, and, well, they don't really have any problems. So it's going pretty well in southern China compared up over into this area, which it's actually pretty peaceful right now. The Romans just scored a massive counteroffensive against the Carthaginians, knocking out this whole area up here. And now the Carthaginians are getting pushed back into, I guess, the ocean. But up north, we see the Germans kind of doing some stupid stuff. What the Germans want to do, they want to have a giant empire that spans across the Nordics, which they kind of already had. I mean, it all rebelled away, but, They want to go up to Latvia, down to Iberia, and just all over Europe. So they're going to go ahead and pick a fight with someone they probably shouldn't, in which boats are going to go ahead and land inside of Copenhagen and swiftly take the island. We then see them making a small landing inside of the southern Swedish part of, inside of southern Sweden, and they are immediately stopped. Sweden is a pretty strong country, and they had a lot of military, at least down over here next to their capital. We do see them taking this island here, but we see a new country enter into this war, and that is Sweden. A quick break up to Finland, we see these guys exploring more. In fact, they're exploring a lot over here, which they're getting pretty far. Then they're going to quickly expand up into this land. And they're going to expand up like this. Going down over to Rome, all of the areas here are going to fall over to the tribal, to this pink rebellion. And this major city is also going to fall. Rome is reduced down to their capital area and Sicily, which they could very quickly lose at any time, which they might lose very soon. But Rome, they're going to have a beacon of hope because Greece, in particular, is going to send an ultimatum over to Italy. They're going to be like, if you don't stop this war right now, pull all of your troops out of Rome, out of southern Italy, then we are going to have to get involved in this war. Now, Greece, they're stronger than Italy. Rome wasn't because they had a lot of internal struggles. Anatolia is a strong country. Ukraine is fairly strong. These three trade with each other often, and these two have given a lot of equipment over to the Ukrainians. And you know what? Let's do a quick top 10 power rankings. The strongest country in the world is still Iberia. Coming in second is probably Greece. Third is probably this purple Libyan country. Fourth is Anatolia. Fifth is Italy. Sixth is probably either Ireland or Germany. We'll give it Germany. Seventh is Ukraine. Eighth is Egypt. Ninth is Carthage. And 10th is Ireland. So really, this alliance is, it's strong. It has a top 5 power, a top 6 power, and then a top 10 power. But compared to the Square Alliance, they're no match. The Italians, they're very cocky though, and they're going to go ahead and say, we can beat you in a 1v1 match. Bring your best builds. We're going to crank to the sky limit and beat you. So we see a declaration of war from the Square Alliance onto the Circle Alliance. Which for now, Rome is going to go ahead and join the Square Alliance, as well as Sweden. Greece is going to go ahead and force Montenegro into this alliance as well, so that way they can move troops over to Adriatica. And well, it looks like there were already troops stationed inside of Montenegro. As we see Greek and Montenegro troops enter into Adriatica, these areas do not want to be a part of Italy. So we see a very quick movement into these areas right here, taking over all of Slovenia. Well, now all of Slovenia. This is pretty troubling because these guys didn't know that they were that weak. They do hold a pretty good counteroffensive into this little part of Croatia. But over inside of Rome, they have just been cut off. And it's pretty bad. They have to flee into this rebellious area, which the Romans are going to chase them into these areas. Carthage is going to go ahead and finally take over the island of Sicily. And we actually see an agreement being signed between Corsica, Sardinia, and Rome. This treaty is pretty weird. A representative from Rome is going to go over to the capital city of this country, and they're going to go ahead and grant these guys their independence. But for their independence, they're going to go ahead and join up in the Square Alliance. It's kind of weird. They were just fighting each other, and now they're working together to take out the Circle Alliance. Even worse news, though, Libya just joined this conflict, and they're really willing to get frisky and go ahead and fight Carthage, opening up a new front inside of Africa. And this is what they do. The third strongest country joins this war, and they very quickly have major successes inside of this portion of Carthage. We then see them start to support some rebels over here inside of Numidia, in which a bunch of people want to form their own country, being Numidia. Carthage will quickly respond by sending troops into this new country, but they're still fighting up against Purple Team troops, which they are no match for. And now Greece has just made a landing inside of southern Italy. And this offensive into southern Italy goes very well. The Romans are able to recapture a bunch of their Italian land, and this little rebellion is going to be pushed down to here. Even worse news, some rebellious territories just popped up inside of Sicily, which are pro-Roman. And Carthage, what are they going to do? They're being invaded from Libya, so they're going to go ahead and leave the war, granting Numidia independence, and Corsican troops just landed inside of Italy. A full collapse of the military has just happened for the Italians as they quickly descend into chaos. Sweden, a fairly weak country, well, not weak, but at least weak for a lot of the countries over here inside of Europe, they're now going to push back Germany. And these guys are also dealing with a major collapse as we see a lot of these areas up inside of Denmark go ahead and rebel away. They want to join up with Sweden because the religion over here inside of Denmark is like a Nordic religion, kind of like what Sweden is. At this point, the Circle Alliance is dead. It's pretty much just a full-on invasion just by Sweden and a lot of the other countries into the tribal states And now Belgium is starting an invasion into Germany. They're capturing a lot of areas up over inside of, like, I guess the Netherlands. And a full-on invasion is taking place with the Benelux military on full display. A rebellion is going to pop up over inside of the southern areas of Germany, and another one is going to pop up over inside of Italy. This rebellion quickly is going to take over the capital city of the Italian tribes of Italy, which leads to the complete collapse of this country. Rome is going to start a minor invasion, which takes over the rest of this land. And then Iberia is going to go ahead and get a jump on this country, in which they are doing quick work. They meet the Alps, but they're Iberian. They have to deal with the Pyrenees all the time. And pretty much we just see a complete surrender over to this rebellion. The same thing happens to Germany, except they surrender to Sweden. And the war is pretty much over. The Romans are going to go ahead and allow for the existence of the pink team, just only inside of southern Italy. And we can look out at the peace treaty of, I guess, the tribal war. So here's what we see the peace treaty coming out to. First off, over in Libya, we see a bunch of land being annexed by the Libyans, which they are becoming a very strong and a very big country. They're very stable. They're fairly democratic. It's a pretty good country to live in. Next, we see kind of this reddish-brown state getting released from some of the old lands of Carthage. And Numidia is released as well. For capitals, they're going to put theirs right here, and Numidia's will be right there. Now, Carthage, they're actually going to go ahead and gain a little tiny province inside of Sicily, but they lose more than what they gain, so it wasn't really worth it. The southern states, or the southern cities of Italy, are released right here, with their capital city being there. Now, in this peace treaty, Greece went ahead and gave themselves this piece of land inside of the Italian peninsula, which Rome didn't know that they were going to get, and they're pretty mad about this. But there's nothing they can really do. Greece is the second strongest country in the world, and, there's nothing they can really do. They're not even in the top 10. Rome will gain quite a bit of land up north, but they're more mad about this down here. Up here, we see another pink Italian nation being released. And then we see a kind of similar country to the tribes of Italy, except it's not, and they move their capital city up over to Venice. Corsica, Sardinia are actually going to gain quite a bit of land inside of Italy. Then we see a new blue Alpine nation getting released. Then we see a reddish country, but these guys, it's not super stable because it's a mix between the German countries and the Italian countries. And those two are not mixing very well. The Orange Iberians benefit a lot from this war as they gain a lot more French lands, some Italian lands, and some Swiss lands. The Benelux gain this amount of land right here from Germany. We see a southern kind of Munich nation. We then see a yellow Germanic country and a brown one. We see a new pink nation right here getting released, and then the original government, or kind of, it's the closest to it, we see the German nation returning. And Sweden is going to go ahead and gain a bunch of land inside of Denmark and a little exclave right here. Moving over to Adriatica, we see the Adriatican Republic getting released. And then we see a purple team getting released as well, and Montenegro does gain like one province right here. But that is going to do it for the tribal age, and the tribal war has just ended. Let's go ahead and give these guys capital cities. We'll put this brown one right here. For the red team, theirs is going to be right here. For the purple team and just for these three, it's going to go there, there, and there. For this blue team, go right there. For the pink team and their their one major city. For Adriatica, they're going to put theirs right here. Actually, scratch that. They put it in their old one. And then for the purple team, right there. And that is going to do it for this episode of Wixo. If you guys enjoyed it, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.